It is Friday, January 22. Welcome to CGN News. U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday issued an executive order that requires international air travelers to quarantine upon arrival in the United States. Biden's order says air travelers must comply with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, guidelines, including recommended periods of self-quarantine. However, he did not explain how it will be enforced. The new requirement is in addition to the rule which requires all travelers to the U.S. to test negative for COVID-19. The rule takes effect next Tuesday, January 26. Cuba is aiming to vaccinate its population this year with its own vaccine, which would be the first developed in Latin America. The country says it can make 100 million doses of Soberana 2 its most advanced vaccine candidate in 2021. Cuba has got off relatively lightly compared to many of its neighbors so far in the pandemic, with 19,530 cases and 184 deaths confirmed by the government. Soberana 2 moved on to phase 2 testing, and if successful, will move on to phase 3 with 150,000 volunteers in March. Dr. Vicente Verez, director of the Finlay Vaccination Institute, says the aim is to launch a vaccination campaign in the first half of the year, and it could also be offered as an option to tourists. Chief Medical Officer of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Hazel Laws, has called on residents to be vigilant in eliminating any possible sources of water that can facilitate mosquito breeding. Dr. Laws says several neighboring islands have reported rising cases of dengue fever, and some have recorded multiple fatalities. At a COVID-19 briefing on Wednesday, she said the Federation has so far remained free of dengue. Dr. Laws outlined that vector control officers will remain active as they continue to ensure that potential breeding areas are identified and eliminated. However, she emphasized the need for each household to take responsibility for their surroundings. A Baptist pastor has called on Jamaicans to remember the rights of unborn children as the abortion debate has again been placed on the national agenda. Delivering the sermon at the 41st Annual National Leadership Prayer Breakfast on Thursday, Reverend Dr. Dylan Toussaint urged Jamaicans to bring hope to the lives of the unborn. The push for the reform of the abortion laws is being led by Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, a decorated Olympian and Minister of State in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Vice President of the Jamaica Association of Evangelicals, Bishop Alvin Bailey, has called on Prime Minister Andrew Holness to rein in Cuthbert Flynn for her public support of abortion. Just 14% of people who have so far registered to receive the COVID-19 vaccine in Bermuda are from the island's majority black community, a survey has revealed. Premier David Burt says the government must do more to target pockets of vaccine hesitancy, CMC reports. Data on race from 6,647 of the 7,729 people registered to take the vaccine shows 1,082 are black, while whites make up 63%. 9% said they were mixed, other, and 14% did not state their race. Health Minister Kim Wilson said earlier surveys had pointed to the black community's reluctance to take the vaccine. Overseas now, Canada's Governor-General Julie Payette resigned Thursday ahead of the release of a reportedly scathing report on workplace harassment claims leveled at her office. The independent review had been ordered by the government last July when allegations of a, quote, toxic climate at Rideau Hall, the official residence of the Governor-General, first surfaced. Canadian media, citing unnamed sources briefed on its contents, said the review's conclusions were damning. Current and former staff at the Governor-General's office had alleged that Payette bullied, yelled at, and publicly humiliated staff, some of whom left her office in tears. Payette responded at the time that she took the allegations very seriously. Amanda Gorman's poem at President Joe Biden's inauguration has now made her a household name and an Amazon bestseller. Hours after reading her poem, The Hill We Climb, Gorman took to social media to share that her books, The Hill We Climb and Change Sings, are #1 and #2 on Amazon sales. She has accomplished the feat with just pre-orders, as the books will not be available until September 21. The 22-year-old West LA native and Harvard grad is the youngest inaugural poet in U.S. history. Former President Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Oprah Winfrey, and Lin-Manuel Miranda also shared her poem, which was trending just seconds after she delivered it. Gorman's following on Twitter has grown from 50,000 followers on the morning of the inauguration to more than 1.3 million. The Islamic State group says it was behind a double suicide bombing in the Iraqi capital Baghdad on Thursday that killed at least 32 people and wounded more than 100. The target had been Shia Muslims, a statement from the Sunni Islamist militant group's Amaq news agency said. It was the biggest suicide attack in Baghdad for 3 years. The bombers blew themselves up among a crowd of shoppers at a second-hand clothes market in Tahran Square. The admission by the jihadist group, made via messaging app Telegram, came several hours after the attack. Google has threatened to remove its search engine from Australia over the nation's attempt to make the tech giant share royalties with news publishers. Australia is introducing a landmark law to make Google, Facebook, and potentially other tech companies pay media outlets for their news content. But the U.S. tech giants have fought back, arguing the laws are onerous and would damage local access to services. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said lawmakers would not yield to threats. 2 city councils in North Carolina have passed ordinances protecting against discrimination for wearing hairstyles such as braids, dreadlocks, or afros. The Durham City Council on Tuesday voted to ban employers from discrimination based on hairstyles, WRAL-TV reported. It's an issue that black people, especially women, say they've faced in their careers. The ordinance also protects residents from discrimination based on gender identity, sexuality, and military status, the News and Observer reported. It comes as North Carolina seeks to expand LGBT rights since the expiration of a moratorium agreed to years ago as a compromise to do away with the state's bathroom bill. That's it for CGN News. I'm Scott Wilson. Thanks for watching.